This is the Vegas Strip. 4 miles of casinos, neon, and luxury towers drawing nearly 40 million visitors a year. It brings in billions in revenue and supports 1 in 5 jobs across southern Nevada. But here's the twist. The Strip isn't in the city of Las Vegas. From the fountains of the Bellagio to the pyramid of the Luxor, nearly every landmark on the Strip sits in 2 unincorporated towns called Paradise and Winchester. They're governed by Clark County, the regional authority that controls most of the Las Vegas metro area. The actual city of Las Vegas has no jurisdiction over the Strip at all. That one boundary decides who collects taxes, who approves developments, and who benefits the most from tourism. And it helps explain why roads in actual Las Vegas are falling apart, while new stadiums and resorts keep getting approved. So, how did a tourist zone become more powerful than the city itself? And why does sprawl keep expanding, even when the city itself admits it's unsustainable? Most cities grow organically around a downtown area, then spread outward as the population increases. Las Vegas did the exact opposite. It built a world-famous entertainment district in an unincorporated area outside its city limits, then surrounded it with sprawling residential neighborhoods. The financial consequences of that backward design are very clear. Clark County collects a portion of the tax charge added to every hotel stay and channels that money into tourism. That includes projects like the stadium that brought the Raiders to town, not roads or transit systems residents rely on. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, funded by hotel taxes, pulled in a record $382.7 million in 2024. Almost all of that gets reinvested into marketing campaigns and tourism infrastructure designed to bring even more visitors. Tourism accounts for about 1/3 of Nevada's entire economy. The industry's contributions save every household in the state roughly $3,000 per year in taxes. Without the Strip, Nevada would need to find another way to fund schools, roads, and public services. So, the funding priorities make sense from a certain angle. Tourism comes first, residents come second. But that creates a strange problem. If the city generates so much wealth from tourism, why can't the money flowing through the casinos fund better services for the people who work there? Las Vegas has a problem that most cities would love to have. It's growing fast. Clark County's population hit 2.42 million in 2024, roughly equivalent to the entire population of Houston, and projections show it reaching 3.23 million by 2060. But in Las Vegas, growth doesn't solve problems. The city relies heavily on something called the Residential and Commercial Development Tax. Essentially, new construction projects help fund the roads and highways that connect them to the rest of the city. The city can't maintain what it already has without constantly building more. This then creates a cycle. New subdivisions get built further and further from the urban center. Those subdivisions need roads, water lines, and sewer systems. The city builds them using revenue from the next round of development, which is even further out. Over time, the city ends up with more roads, more pipes, and more systems than it can afford to keep in good condition. And the city knows it too. The 2050 master plan openly admits that the costs of continuing to build outward using conventional suburban development are becoming prohibitive. The region is running out of land and water. Conventional suburban neighborhoods consume relatively large quantities of both, and officials have acknowledged that this model is challenged by resource and quality of life constraints. But even with that admission, the expansion hasn't slowed. What makes this especially frustrating is that the city's own zoning code actively prevents the kind of development that might solve the problem. Commercial retail in Las Vegas must provide 1 parking space for every 350 square feet of floor area. That means a modest grocery store of around 30,000 square feet, roughly the size of 2 basketball courts, would need more than 85 parking spaces. Medical offices also need 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet. That means even if a developer wanted to build something walkable and transit-friendly, the zoning code would make it nearly impossible. The law requires car dependence. So as a result, the city sprawls outward, building low-density neighborhoods that require residents to drive everywhere, which creates more traffic, more congestion, and more wear on the roads. And because the system depends on continuous development to fund infrastructure, there's no way to stop without triggering a budget crisis. The machine is designed to keep running, even though everyone involved knows it's heading toward a cliff. The problem is, the way the city prioritizes cars over every other form of transportation has turned Las Vegas into one of the most dangerous places in America to be a pedestrian. Las Vegas is ranked the third worst city for pedestrians in the entire United States. The region records 3.41 pedestrian deaths for every 100,000 people. In 2019, 43 pedestrians were killed in Clark County. By 2023, that number had jumped to 83, nearly double. That's a 93% increase in just 4 years. On average, 1 person dies and 3.5 more are seriously injured every single week. The root cause isn't reckless drivers or bad luck. It's the road design itself. Las Vegas streets are built as what urban planners call stroads, high-speed, high-volume corridors that try to function as both highways and local streets. They're too fast to be safe for pedestrians and too cluttered with driveways and intersections to move traffic efficiently. They're designed to prioritize speed, which makes them dangerous for anyone not in a car. The city scores 42 out of 100 for walkability and a dismal 29 out of 100 for overall safety. If you don't have a car in Las Vegas, your options are extremely limited. About 40% of Clark County residents don't live within close proximity to a bus stop. The Regional Transportation Commission, or RTC, operates a large transit system, but it's underfunded. The RTC faces a funding gap of $136 million, and without new revenue, service could be cut by 25 to 30% by 2027. The transit system depends heavily on a 0.3% local sales tax, which hasn't kept pace with the population growth. Ridership has increased, but the funding mechanism hasn't evolved. The result is a system that can't meet demand, which forces more people to drive, which makes the roads more congested, which increases the danger for pedestrians even more. Vehicle miles traveled in Nevada increased 48% between the year 2000 and 2015, the largest increase in the nation. Combined with the costs of driving on deficient roads and the financial toll of crashes, the average Las Vegas driver loses $1,744 annually. That's an invisible tax on residents, paid not to the government, but to the consequences of bad infrastructure. The city has adopted a Vision Zero action plan, aiming to eliminate all traffic fatalities and serious injuries by 2050. That's 25 years away. In the meantime, the deaths continue. And the reason they continue is because fixing the city would require rethinking how it is built, and that's not financially viable under the current system. Nevada's infrastructure gets a C grade in federal assessments. That might not sound so bad, but in infrastructure terms, a C means systems are aging, underfunded, and at risk of failure. The maintenance deficit for the state's drinking water infrastructure alone is projected to exceed $5 billion over the next 2 decades, enough to build roughly 10 professional sports stadiums. Extreme weather events have already required over $1 billion in repairs across the state in the last 10 years. Las Vegas recycles 99% of its wastewater, which helps offset some of the demand. But 60% of the region's total water consumption is classified as consumptive use, meaning it's lost to evaporation or absorbed into the ground. Most of that comes from single-family residential properties, landscape irrigation, water-based cooling systems, and backyard pools. The Southern Nevada Water Authority has responded with aggressive conservation measures, including banning new functional grass and mandating the removal of non-functional grass in public spaces. The city aims to increase its tree canopy coverage to 20% by 2035 and ensure 85% of residents live within 1/3 of a mile of green spaces by 2050. The sprawl that drives water consumption is the same sprawl that funds infrastructure. The city can't stop building without triggering a financial crisis, but every new subdivision increases the total demand on an already strained water system. Lake Mead has dropped 160 feet since January 2000. At some point, conservation measures won't be enough. Meanwhile, the cost of improving roads, highways, and bridges would generate substantial returns. Every dollar spent results in an estimated average benefit of $5.20 in reduced user costs, including less maintenance, fewer delays, lower fuel consumption, and improved safety. The money to fund those improvements could come from reallocating tourism tax revenue, but that would mean deprioritizing the high visibility projects that generate immediate returns on investment. It would mean admitting that the needs of residents matter more than the convenience of tourists. And, under the current system, that's not a trade the city is willing to make. Historic downtown Las Vegas has largely stalled in its revitalization efforts. It hasn't achieved the critical mass of residents, tourists, and institutions needed to create a vibrant urban center. The city's future development strategy acknowledges the inefficiency of past methods and identifies opportunities for increased density and mixed-use development aligned with transit corridors. But acknowledging the problem and solving it are two different things. Las Vegas is a city that succeeded at exactly what it was designed to do: extract maximum revenue from tourists while keeping taxes low for residents. The problem is that the system optimized for that goal produces terrible outcomes for the people who actually live there. The Strip functions as a high-density, mixed-use environment where everything is designed to be walkable, efficient, and convenient. The residential areas are forced into the opposite model: low density, car-dependent, and sprawling. Tourism generates wealth. Sprawl generates funding for infrastructure. The two systems are locked together in a way that makes meaningful reform almost impossible. The city could change its zoning code to allow more density. It could reallocate tourism taxes to fund better public transit. It could stop requiring massive parking lots for every new building. But each of those changes would disrupt the financial model that keeps the city running. Allowing density would reduce the need for new sprawl, which would cut into development tax revenue. Funding public transit would mean diverting money away from tourism projects, which would reduce the return on investment that justifies the current tax structure. Eliminating parking minimums would make car dependence less necessary, but it would also make new development less appealing to investors who expect suburban-style projects. The system is self-reinforcing. Every decision that prioritizes tourists over residents makes it harder to change course. Every new suburb built on the edge of town increases the total infrastructure burden. Every year that passes without addressing the pedestrian death toll or the water crisis, or the deferred maintenance, makes the eventual cost of fixing those problems higher. Las Vegas is a city designed for people who don't live there, and the people who do live there are stuck paying the price. The chaos in Las Vegas wasn't created by incompetence or lack of planning. It was created by a system that works exactly as intended, just not for the people who call it home. The Strip generates billions, the suburbs sprawl outward, and the infrastructure struggles to keep up. The financial model that funds the city also locks it into patterns that everyone admits are unsustainable. Other cities facing similar growth pressures are watching what happens in Las Vegas. The same trade-offs between tourism revenue and resident services are playing out across the American Southwest. Phoenix, Tucson, and Reno are all dealing with versions of the same problem. How do you build a city for residents when the economy depends on serving outsiders? Las Vegas might eventually find a way to break the cycle. The city's own planning documents acknowledge that the current path isn't viable long-term. The suburbs keep spreading, the traffic keeps getting worse, and every year, the gap between what the city needs and what it can afford grows a little bit wider. The question isn't whether Las Vegas can continue like this forever. It's what happens when it finally can't.